Hello, everybody. Yeah, welcome to Just for Women Africa, and my name is Olalekan Amoson. Today, we're on a Zoom interview all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa. We have lost Tuli. Tuli is the CEO and founder of Yellow Owl. Tuli is a South African sign language interpreter. She'll be talking to us about that, how she got into the field, and anything that comes up during the interview. So stick around, and we'll be right back. Okay, everybody. Yeah, welcome back to Just for Women Africa. We have lost Tuli all the way from Johannesburg in South Africa. Yeah, welcome to Just for Women Africa, Tuli.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, Tuli, could you tell us how did you get into the sign language profession?
Fantastic. So I am a professional and a qualified South African Sign Language, so ASL interpreter. And it wasn't really planned or prepared. So the plan was to go into psychology. And because of my curious nature, and I was just fascinated with the unknown, SASL was actually my second major, but psychology was the plan because it's more stable, it makes more sense, and parents understand what it's all about. But because I was actually quite intrigued and I realized that there's so much work to do, I decided to shift and pivot my career and start from the bottom. So I don't have any family members who are deaf or hard of hearing. I really had no point of reference. It was just me starting from the bottom and working my way up and just putting in a lot of the work, learning the language and then mastering the skill of interpreting. So it does take time to build that foundation, but over time and over years, I think I've established that. Okay. And I think without knowing it, it was actually my purpose.
That's nice. Nice to discover your purpose. Okay, you said you're a certified sign language interpreter. How long did it take you to learn the skill?
It's a long time. So just like any language, you have to be fluent in the language first and then master the skill of interpreting. So that's twofold. I think once you make a decision to actually be a professional and to go all the way, just like you can be a professional in the legal sector or medical sector, in education, I think that SASL interpreting globally we're language practitioners, we're professional language practitioners. So you always have to develop and hone your skill and always upskill and learn. So I think it took me a good 8 years to build that foundation. And then I could call myself a professional, but even then I don't think I've arrived because the industry is constantly changing. There's so many opportunities now that you can have online. So I think you must always be relevant and always be open to opportunities that could take your brand and your company and your skill to the next level.
You did mention that things are changing. So what has changed over the last 8 years since you started till now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's quite exciting in the country. I'm not sure if you know that past 2 months ago, SASL, South African Sign Language, has been recognized as the 12th official language, which is a big milestone. It's a historical landmark for the country and also for the deaf community in recognizing their language rights and their cultural heritage and also restoring dignity within the community. So it does barriers for communication. So the same way that we are speaking, I'm not sure how it is with the deaf community in Ghana and Accra, but language is linked to identity and culture. And if that is taken away from you, that's a violation of your human rights. You don't have access to information and knowledge and education, and you've got limited opportunities in your life. So having that recognized as official language within the country, first of all, it's recognizing that the deaf community are equal, basically, and they respect and they deserve as much opportunities as any other person, regardless of their disability. So disability aside, that's exactly what we do. So now that the language is recognized, we interpreters to work together. How do they access the banks? How do they access education? How do they access information? It's through the deaf community and SASL interpreters working together to make information accessible. So that's the one change. And then also, I think COVID brought a very interesting turn of events where for the first time, the whole country was locked into lockdown and we had to make use of online facilities and online devices. So the deaf community is very face-to-face and people-centered. So for the longest time, because the language is visual, that's where you gain the trust. That's where you learn the language when you meet people face-to-face. But when that was taken away and we had to wear masks and there was social distancing and people had to stay at home, we had to pivot and find other ways to communicate and still make information accessible. So one person can see it as a problem, but someone else can see it as an opportunity. And actually, just to add that, that's when Yellow Owl was started. My company was started in my bedroom in the middle of COVID. So that's when I got the creativity and the inspiration to start it, because I saw a huge gap in the market online that no one was going to be able to fill. And that's quite exciting.
All right, let's talk about the deaf and hard of hearing community in South Africa. How large are they, and is there really need for people like your services out there in South Africa?
Absolutely. So also one thing I just also try to caution, I don't want to speak on behalf of deaf people, because I'm not deaf. I don't know what it's like to be deaf. I don't want to come across as an advisor or a person who's leading the community. There are more than enough deaf community leaders who are strong enough to tell their own story and to lead their own movements. But in terms of facts and the stats behind it, there is more or less 4.5 million deaf and hard of hearing individuals in the country who use ASL as their first language of communication, and they identify themselves as deaf. But in terms of experiences and what they want and their demands, I'd rather not comment. I prefer to come across as an expert, highlighting the opportunities as an ASL language practitioner. I'm a hearing person, I'm not deaf, so I can't speak on the issues regarding the deaf people.
Talking about sign language, I'm not a sign interpreter, so I really don't know. But are there instances where there are new sign language techniques which needs to be taught, or you need to learn every now and then for a new word or a new character?
Absolutely. So ASL as a language, just like any other language, is constantly evolving. So it depends. So first of all, sign language is not universal. So in South Africa, we've got our own ASL sign language. I'm pretty sure in Ghana, there's Ghana Sign Language, there's American Sign Language, there's Kenyan Sign Language. So it's not universal. The same way not everyone in the country speaks English, right? Not everyone in the country speaks Xhosa, for example. So it's very regional, it's very cultural. South Africa is very rich in our history, and that also plays a very big impact in terms of the dialect, the slang, the actual signs that we use. So I think it's very important as an ASL interpreter to always be connected to the deaf community. You need to know what's happening. That's the best way to learn the language, to be up to date with the new signs. It does happen that you find yourself in a setting and you don't know what the sign is because maybe you lost touch, or the sign hasn't been established in our context, in the South African context, but also in the setting that you're in. I think also COVID presented an interesting opportunity for new vocab to be developed. So for Zoom or for different sicknesses and diseases that didn't exist before. But how do you know all of this vocab? It's through socializing and learning and getting in touch. So that's why I say that as an interpreter, it's your responsibility to constantly learn and to constantly educate yourself to be what is happening in the country. If you do get stuck, that's where now I would actually encourage the training or the mentorship comes in, because interpreting is a skill. You need to be fluent in the language first, learn the language, and then master the skill. Interpreting is a skill. There are techniques. There are strategies that you use. What happens when you're in a stressful situation? What happens when you are on the news? It's a live event, current affairs. What happens when the electricity goes off? What happens when a speaker says something you don't expect? What strategies do you use in your mind to sort of like mitigate the situation? I must also say that interpreting is a cognitive thinking process. It's very little to do with the hands. Everything happens in the mind. We listen, we understand, we decode, we remember. We have to produce the language in a different target language. So it's a lot of things happening, but all of this is happening real time. You can't tell the speaker to stop speaking because you're having a bad day or you've got a tummy ache. It's live. We're doing it now. So when you're focused, you have to come and be present. Forget everything, forget all the distractions, and be in the moment. It's a very cognitively demanding task. It's not as easy as it looks.
Okay, Tuli, let me confirm, let me clarify something with you, what you said. You said the sign language is not universal. So for instance, could you give us an illustration? So, well, are you saying like in South Africa, the way you do a sign language for the word, let's say a word, a painting, will be different from what a painting will be illustrated in Ghana?
On a technical basis, yes and no. So sign language, you've got the hand shape. So again, I want to shy away from the actual language and the sign and come across as the expert. I don't want this to be a platform where I teach sign language. I'd rather maybe get a deaf person to teach you certain vocabs, but in terms of the background and the process of the actual interpreting and how to identify that. So some signs are iconic, they're quite visual. So a cup is something that you hold. A car would be something like a steering wheel because it's visual. It's sometimes incorporated with the gesture. So sign language is a visual language, but you also get abstract signs that are not so visually obvious just by the head shape or the movement. So a painting, depending, I don't want to assume and say that it's going to be the same. In South Africa, I'd probably look at the shape. So it's probably going to be a square shape. It's probably going to be the painting or the paintbrush gestures and the movements, almost like depicting a paint or someone sitting. But if someone comes from Ghana, I don't know how they'd understand that. I don't know how they'd maybe perceive a painting or a painter. What's on the painting? What colors are you using? What's the shape? All of those things, those little elements come together to make the sign. Yeah, so that's just what I'm saying. So something to counter that, we've also got something called international sign language, where if we've got an international conference or an international setting where the deaf person or an interpreter from South Africa has to come together to another deaf community, maybe in Ghana. If I'm not so confident in Ghanaian sign language and the other person could be a deaf person or a hearing person is not so fluent in ASL, then we can meet halfway and incorporate the signs, and we call that international sign language, where it's globally recognized. So sometimes if like there's an international conference or federation, online platforms, and we just want to make sure that everyone gets the same message, that's the best way, it's the safest way. It's international sign language, ISL.
Well understood. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay. All right. So viewers who are watching, I know this is not a tutorial class, but could you just give us could you do something in sign language for us and then just tell us exactly what it is?
Again, I'd rather shy away from that. I'd rather maybe talk about the skills or the profession of interpreting, but the actual language or maybe teaching, I'd rather, or mentoring or giving some tips of vocab, I'd rather shy away from that. I can suggest a couple of videos on YouTube or reputable organizations that are led by deaf people that focus on teaching sign language. As an interpreter, it's just also something best practice going forward, that you don't necessarily want to be the one who teaches or who comes across as the expert in teaching sign language. So sign language for me is not necessarily my native language. It's a language that I've used. So if you're asking me to, for example, in this conversation, with this platform, you're asking me to maybe break down certain cognitive processes, maybe thinking or memory, I can go into that. But maybe the actual signing, let's leave that to the deaf people. It's their language. They're the proud leaders and the owners of the language. So maybe people can watch some Yellow Owl videos. We've got plenty of deaf collaborations and deaf people doing amazing things. If they want to pick up some vocab, they can definitely go and check out those videos.
Okay, well said, well said. Okay, really to the next question. What makes a very good interpreter?
That's a good question. So one, it is, you have to be well knowledge. So I'd like to think in a humble way that interpreters are one of the most intelligent people. So our industry requires us to be well read. You have to have a high level of general knowledge. You never know what setting you'll be in. So today you're doing politics, tomorrow you're doing art, tomorrow's the science, the next day you're working with old people. So every single day is different and every single day is exciting. Every day poses a different opportunity to learn. I think one thing that's also important is that you must love people. You are people-centered. So we're working with real people in a marginalized community, in a marginalized linguistic setting. So you must be sensitive of people's different backgrounds and different values that may not be necessarily the same as yours. So you don't want to be stereotyped or discriminate and bring your own personal judgments in a situation that will, stir the situation or stir the people or the speakers or the setting in a way that does not favor the deaf people. It's important to be neutral in any setting. So again, some of the ethical things that you'd like to maybe advise when you're going into any situation where you're interpreting, you're impartial. So you don't, so right now I'm speaking, I'm Thuli, but when I'm interpreting, when I'm on air, when I'm really doing my thing, it's not about me. So the fact that maybe I've got a headache or I had a bad day in the morning, that doesn't count. Right now I'm interpreting, I have to convey a message. It could be a person who's upset. It could be a person who's emotional. It could be a person who's excited. So even if I'm not feeling like that, I need to forget about that and bring that across. So another thing about interpreting is that you have to always I would actually advise this. I see how it's going. It's helping me in my career to have a very good credibility, is to learn and develop your skill as much as possible. So if you can get the qualification, get it. Get a mentor. That's important. I'm accredited, so that's also something that you could also look into. So accreditation is something like a license. And in the country in South Africa right now, there's like a 12 people only. There's like a handful, of people who are accredited, and I'm one of those people. But in terms of representing the industry as language practitioners, clients trust you, the communities trust you. There are no issues of suspicion of why you want to do this. Something you must also be aware of, it's unspoken, is the power dynamics when you go into a situation like that. We are dealing with industry or a community that's, it's disabled, it's linguistically and culturally marginalized. So as a hearing person, I've got privilege of information, access to information. I can speak. I've got education, I've got a job. But if you're going to come into a setting where you're not aware of those soft oppressions and previous disadvantages, it might, change the power dynamics in a way that's not favorable for you. So just know your role, and just know that you're not there to save the day. You're not there to help people. We don't feel sorry for the deaf people. We don't take sides. You're here for the hearing person and the deaf person equal. You're not responsible to save them or to help them or to make them feel better. You're just there to convey a message.
Okay, Tuli, as we're about to round up the interview, this is just for Women Africa, and we can't end the show without asking one or two questions about women. What is it like being a South African sign interpreter as a woman in South Africa? How's that important to you?
That's a beautiful question. So funny enough, in the industry, most language practitioners are female, especially in the ASL community. I think because women generally are nurturing. Women, I'd like to think, are emotionally more mature. I'd also like to think that we are the fairer sex and we're slightly more intelligent than the males. So when you're working with people, like I mentioned, we're constantly working with people. These are people on any given day. They're emotional, they're upset. You need to be able to be sensitive and to pick up that emotion, that sometimes be intuitive. I think women are very intuitive. So I think that is a plus in terms of the industry as SASL interpreters. For women as well, coming into boardrooms or coming into businesses, having to own your own business. For example, I'm the founder of Yellow Owl. That's important. I am a role model. There are younger women who look up to me, who want to do what I do. So I have to constantly make sure that I put my best foot forward, show them that it's possible with hard work, with the discipline. You must dream big. Don't let, especially if you're coming into a room, don't sell yourself short in terms of your value, in terms of your pricing. Put in the good work, put in the hard work as well. I'd also just like to encourage women, young and old, actually, across all genders and across the continents, that if you really want to do it, show up and make it happen. So as a woman, I think it's a proud moment. I've also got other female mentors that I looked up to, and for me to be trusted with that, like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and they're trusting us with the baton. So it's a huge responsibility.
All right, Tuli, thanks so much for being with us on the show. Really appreciate it. We wish you all the best, and we look forward to interviewing again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. And to your viewers who are watching, do not forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend who knows a friend about Just Women Africa. And from Tuli and I in South Africa, it'll be bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.